In the early 1900s, a product called Radithor sat proudly on pharmacy shelves across America. It was radioactive water, bottled and sold as a health tonic. Doctors recommended it. Wealthy customers drank it daily, convinced it could cure fatigue, boost vitality, and restore youthful energy. This wasn't fringe pseudoscience, sold in the shadows by con men. It was marketed openly, endorsed by physicians, and genuinely believed by millions to be the future of medicine, until one of its most devoted users died a slow, horrifying death, and the truth about what radium actually did to the human body finally made headlines. Today we're looking at 10 products once considered miracles of their time, that we now know were anything but. Item number 1. Radium-Infused Products. In the early 20th century, radium was treated less like a hazardous element and more like a wonder of modern science. It glowed softly in the dark, and that glow captured the public imagination completely. Companies infused it into toothpaste, marketed as a way to brighten smiles. They bottled it into tonic water, sold as a cure for everything from arthritis to low energy. And perhaps most tragically, they used it to paint luminous numbers onto watch and clock dials, employing young women, later known as the Radium Girls, who were instructed to shape their brush tips into fine points using their lips, ingesting small amounts of radioactive paint with every single dial they completed. Many of these women began developing severe, unexplained illnesses within just a few years, including bone deterioration and a rare form of jaw disease. It would take lawsuits, painstaking medical investigation, and a wave of public outrage before radium's true danger to the human body was widely understood and its use in consumer products was finally, quietly, phased out. Item number 2. Physician-Endorsed Cigarettes. Through the 1940s and into the 1950s, cigarette companies ran advertising campaigns that leaned heavily on medical authority, featuring men in white coats claiming to be physicians who personally recommended specific brands as gentler on the throat or less irritating than competitors. Some campaigns even cited surveys claiming a majority of doctors preferred a particular brand themselves. At a time when the serious health risks of smoking were only beginning to be understood by the scientific community, these advertisements lent cigarettes an air of medical legitimacy that, in hindsight, feels almost impossible to believe. It would take decades of mounting research, and a landmark 1964 Surgeon General's report, before this kind of advertising was finally recognized for what it truly was, and eventually banned outright. Item number 3. Lead-based paint. For much of the 20th century, lead was a standard, celebrated ingredient in household paint, prized for its rich, vibrant color and remarkable durability. It coated nursery walls, children's cribs, and toys, marketed directly to families as a safe, long-lasting choice for the home. What wasn't widely understood, or was simply not taken seriously enough at the time, was that lead exposure, particularly in young children who might chew on painted surfaces or breathe in dust from peeling walls, could cause serious, often irreversible neurological damage. It wasn't until 1978 in the United States that lead-based paint was formally banned for residential use, following years of growing medical evidence and public health advocacy that had, 4 decades before that, struggled to be heard over the paint industry's reassurances. Item number 4. Asbestos. Materials of the 20th century were marketed with more confidence than asbestos. It resisted fire remarkably well, insulated homes efficiently, and found its way into an astonishing range of everyday products. From attic insulation and floor tiles to hairdryers, ironing board covers, and even the fake fluffy snow used in classic film productions during the holiday season. For decades, asbestos was genuinely seen as a triumph of industrial engineering, a material that made homes safer from fire and more comfortable to live in. It would take extensive, hard-won medical research linking asbestos, fiber inhalation to serious lung disease and cancer before regulations began seriously restricting its use, starting in the 1970s, and continuing in various forms for decades afterward as the true scope of the damage slowly became clear. Item number 5. Thalidomide. In the late 1950s and into the early 1960s, this medication was prescribed widely to pregnant women across Europe, Canada, and dozens of other countries to ease morning sickness. It was marketed as remarkably safe, with manufacturers claiming it carried no meaningful side effects at all, even for expectant mothers in their most vulnerable early months. The reality proved devastating. Thousands of children were born with severe physical differences and limb malformations after their mothers had taken the drug during pregnancy, a connection that took tragically long to be formally recognized and acted upon by regulators. Thalidomide is now widely remembered as one of the most significant pharmaceutical tragedies of the 20th century, and it became a major catalyst for the much stricter drug testing and approval processes that followed in its wake, forever changing how new medications are evaluated before reaching the public. Item number 6. DDT Pesticide. This powerful pesticide was once celebrated as a genuine miracle of modern chemistry, credited with dramatically reducing insect-borne diseases and protecting crops on a massive scale. Its reputation for safety was so strong that promotional demonstrations sometimes sprayed DDT directly over crowds of children at beaches, parks, and campgrounds, presented almost as a harmless, even playful, novelty. It wasn't until the 1960s, following extensive research into its long-term environmental and health effects, including its tendency to accumulate in the food chain and in human tissue, that serious concerns began to override its earlier celebrated reputation. The United States formally banned DDT for most agricultural uses in 1972, a decision widely credited to growing public awareness sparked in large part by Rachel Carson's influential book, Silent Spring, published a full decade earlier in 1962. Item number 7. Mercury-Based Teething Remedies. For much of the early 20th century, parents genuinely trusted small doses of mercury-containing remedies to soothe their infants during the painful process of teething. These products were sold openly in pharmacies, marketed as gentle and effective, with no indication to worried parents that mercury exposure, even in small amounts, could pose serious risks to a developing child. It took years of accumulating medical evidence linking these remedies to a serious childhood illness known as pink disease, along with broader growing awareness of mercury's toxicity, before these products were finally phased out of common use through the mid-20th century, a quiet but significant shift in how medicine approached the well-being of infants. Item number 8. Lawn darts. Often known by the brand name Jarts, marketed as a light-hearted family lawn game throughout the 1950s, 60s and 70s. These oversized darts featured genuinely sharp, weighted metal tips, designed to stick firmly into grass after being tossed high into the air, often by children and adults playing together in the same backyard. Despite their popularity, the combination of a sharp metal point and an unpredictable, high-arcing throw led to a troubling number of serious injuries over the decades, including several tragic deaths, primarily among young children. After mounting safety concerns and public pressure, the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission formally banned the sale of lawn darts in 1988, closing the book on what had once been considered simply an ordinary, wholesome backyard pastime. Item number 9. Wheeled baby walkers. For generations, these devices were treated as a nursery essential, marketed directly to parents as a helpful tool that would encourage infants to strengthen their legs and learn to walk earlier and more confidently. They were common enough that many of today's grandparents likely remember using one themselves as a child, or watching their own children move happily around the living room in one. Over time, however, medical research began to reveal a troubling pattern. Rather than genuinely helping infants learn to walk, wheeled walkers were found to sometimes delay natural motor development, and far more seriously, they were linked to a significant number of household injuries, particularly falls down staircases. As mobile infants gained speed and independence well before they had the judgment or coordination to manage it safely, health organizations in both the United States and Canada eventually issued strong recommendations against their use. And in Canada, wheeled baby walkers were formally banned from sale entirely in 2004. Item number 10. X-ray chute fitting machines. From the 1920s through the 1950s, it was genuinely common to find a fluoroscope machine inside ordinary shoe stores, allowing customers, including young children, to step onto a platform and peer down into a viewer to see a live X-ray image of their own foot bones inside a new pair of shoes. It was treated almost as a delightful novelty, a fun, modern way to guarantee the perfect fit, and children in particular often begged their parents for a turn, viewing it as something closer to a carnival attraction than a genuine medical device. Store employees operating these machines, along with the children and parents standing beside them repeatedly throughout a working day, were receiving real, cumulative radiation exposure with essentially no safety oversight at all. By the 1950s, growing awareness of radiation risk led most of these machines to be quietly removed from stores. And by the 1970s, most US states had formally banned their use entirely. So what finally changed? In large part, it came down to two forces working together. First, genuine scientific advancement. As the mid-20th century progressed, our understanding of radiation, toxicology, and long-term health effects grew dramatically more sophisticated, allowing researchers to finally identify dangers that earlier generations simply had no way of detecting. Second, and just as important, came a wave of regulatory change. Agencies like the Food and Drug Administration and later, the Consumer Product Safety Commission were strengthened and given real authority to investigate and act. High-profile tragedies, from the Radium Girls' hard-fought lawsuits to the devastating thalidomide birth defects, generated public outrage that regulators and lawmakers could no longer ignore. Bit by bit, through the 1960s and 70s especially, laws changed, products were pulled from shelves, and a new, more cautious standard for consumer safety slowly took hold. Looking back at a list like this, it's easy to feel a certain disbelief, even a little judgment, toward the people who trusted these products so completely. But it's worth pausing to remember something important. For every single item on this list, someone, somewhere, genuinely believed they were doing right by their family. A mother giving her teething baby a trusted remedy. A father proudly setting up lawn darts for a weekend barbecue. A young woman taking a job painting watch dials, simply grateful for steady work. They weren't reckless. They were doing exactly what any of us would do with the information available to them at the time, trusting the science, the doctors, and the advertisements of their era, just as we trust our own today. It's a quiet reminder that knowledge changes, and that the products we trust completely right now may look very different through the eyes of the future. Did your parents or grandparents ever mention owning any of these? A lawn dart set in the garage, a wheeled walker in an old photograph, a trip to the shoe store you still remember? Tell us in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. And if you enjoyed this look back, you'll want to see this next one just as unforgettable, waiting right here.